let's talk about Nick. We'll end this episode talking about him because obviously he by his absence, he is it is very apparent that he is not there. Now, if he was there, he may not even play in these games, but uh in the Athletic, in today's little reporting, Matt Barrows wrote, "Is the clock ticking for a Nick Bosa extension?" And he is referencing a conversation that he had with John Lynch, and he, saying, how long did you need before before you could get ready for the season? And John Lynch said, this is John Lynch's quote, "I needed 3 weeks. I needed that to get ready. And so I don't know what the right time period for Bosa is. We've talked a lot about it internally, but I think that it's important to give yourself the best chance to not only play at the highest level, but to stay healthy and get yourself primed and ready, calloused to play." Like, that's his big word, is calloused. They need to build up the calluses and the hits and all of that stuff to be ready. So we are 3 weeks out from the opening season for the Niners playing in Pittsburgh. What Who has the leverage here? I can't imagine a player necessarily has the leverage unless they're just willing to hold out for the entire season, and I'm not sure that that is the case here. But there, I also don't think that there's real worry yet. You probably don't get really worried until, the beginning of that last week before the season starts. But by Nick holding his ground, he does create whatever leverage that you can have. He does create that by not being here. But are you worried about Nick yet?
I'm not worried yet, but you referenced in a segment that we did on Nick about a month ago, the Emmitt Smith holdout.
Yes.
And we can say that he's under contract and he doesn't really have any leverage. I can guarantee you that this defense is going to look a whole lot different if we line up week one and Nick Bosa is not at right end and it's Cleveland Farrell or Austin Bryant or whoever the hell else is over there. You can believe that his presence will be missed. And then that's where a player's and now if we start running off wins, but even then though, I think our front office is smart enough to know that even if we get off on a hot streak, that's fool's gold. Nick Bosa, the only stat that really that jumps out to me, and you could talk about the difference one player makes, yada yada. I get that. But Nick Bosa has been here 3 years, I mean 4 years, and we've been to the NFC Championship 3 of those years. And the
Yes.
one that we weren't there, he was injured. So I mean, he is legitimate. When you talk about the top of the food chain players in the NFL, he is right up there in whatever you want to say, top four, top five, top 10 difference makers in this league. In a league of special athletes, there's a like Dion talks about, with the Hall of Fame, we need to have another tier
The
of
pyramid style. Yeah.
of Hall of Famers. When you talk about elite players and then elite players, Nick Bosa is in that tier of a handful of game record type of guys. And you can, talk that next man up and all of that. You don't replace a Nick Bosa. You just don't. I mean, you don't.
The thing that Rod was referencing in the comment that I made. So I believe the year is 1993. So
Mhm.
Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl, their first, the young team. This is the Troy, Emmett, and Michael Irvin. When they finally got over the hump, and Emmett held out the first 2 weeks of the season. Those first 2 weeks of the season, the defending Super Bowl champions went into Washington and lost 35-16. Then they had a home game against the Buffalo Bills and lost 13-10. Emmett was signed that next week, and they reeled off 7 straight victories and then eventually won the Super Bowl again. So that is the kind of impact that I think that Nick has. So, whatever he is willing to do to hold out, whatever the 49ers are trying to figure out. I don't even know what the dollar amount difference would possibly be between the two parties because they basically said that they're pretty confident that that they're going to work it out. Like we haven't heard from the 49ers side yet that there is any worry. So I don't know exactly, what the possible problem is. One, obviously it's, Nick wants more money than the Niners are willing to give him at this point, but we don't know how far apart they are. We haven't heard any of that information. So, I mean, I hope it doesn't get there because, if you're Kyle and you finally have the roster. And look, this is a fantastic roster. They've had fantastic rosters. It's almost like, uh, there's almost so many weapons that Kyle probably feels like, man, I'm a very lucky guy here with the roster we put together. But there's always a hitch. It could be injury. It could be something like this. It could be a holdout. It could be an off the field thing that screws up some of the chemistry. And these dream seasons, a lot of the times that the dream seasons happen is because for whatever reason, everything just works out the way that you always want it to work out. So this is a little bit of a hitch. The Brock thing could have been a hitch, but it looks like it's going to be okay. We'll see what happens, but I just hope that the 49ers understand that, there is a possibility for this to be a special, special team. And I think the fan base. When is the last time that you've been this excited about a team?
It's been a
Probably,
long time.
yeah.
It's
I
been
mean,
a long time.
even I would probably say I would probably go back to 2012
Yeah.
because that 2011 team was a little unexpected, and then we're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, okay, 2012." And 2012 was a fantastic season. It didn't end the way that we wanted it, but that was, you know, the best team probably since then.
Yeah.
So I
'Cause I
think this
wasn't
could be
expecting the 2019 team,
no.
and then the COVID year was kind of a weird year,
Yeah.
so 21 wasn't like I didn't have, a bunch, I
The Niners had to win a lot of games in the second half of that season to even make the playoffs in that
yeah.
2021.
So, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I think so. And then I'm just couple things there I wanna pick your brain on is, the social aspect of this type of commentary aside, we saw, how Debo went about his holdout. And you can, I'm not getting into that commentary of the unprofessional and diva and all the cancerous and all the weird shit you fans was out here talking about
Well,
in re- in,
what was the news that he unfollowed the 49ers Instagram page or
and
whatever?
that's unprofessional somehow. I mean, okay, whatever. But I think it bears questioning if Nick held in like JT Watt did, just came and did his work on the side and was, doing media availability every day and talking about it and in the press every day and just here does is he signed by now? If I'm not saying he's even made a mess or said anything negative, the fact that he is just, um, you know, zero dark 30, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, and there's no real pressure to get anything done. And there really is and I look, I guess from if I'm his team, um, I'm going to be the highest paid player in the league. I mean,
Mhm.
or defensive player in the
Defensive
league. I mean,
player in the league.
yeah, so there's really I mean, I guess that's why I can take this stance. I don't really have to go out here and stomp or campaign to get my money. But I just wonder if he had just a little bit more of a higher profile, would there be any more pressure on the 49ers to come to the table than there already is? Think so, but what do I know? What do you think?
Well, the other thing that we're not even thinking about, right, is his leverage is in getting the deal done now, because if he just plays this season, next year the Niners can just tag him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he wants the deal so that he doesn't have to go through a lot of the nonsense that some of these other players get, where they just get tagged and have to play on that 1 year for, whatever the top 10%. I forget what the average is. So to me, that's what this is really about, which is, hey, if this is going to be 4 or 5 years, he wants those terms dictated for him so that, the tagging system that still exists in the NFL and doesn't really exist anywhere. And, baseball has their own version of that, but that, I think that's really what it's about. Is he wants the ability, like you said, to not only be the highest paid player, but also what's going to happen is he's going to sign his deal, and then the next guy's going to be like, I want more than Nick, and then the next guy's
Mhm,
going to go, I want more than that guy that just got more than Nick. And so by the time, after 2 years, Nick's not gonna be the highest paid player anymore. He's gonna be the 5th highest paid player. And then you have this relationship with the team to be like, "Hey, let's redo this." And if I'm still, if I'm possibly going after Strahan every year, I should be paid in that way. So I think it's really about the relationship. It's really about him sort of setting the precedent with them, saying, this is what I bring to the table. And how is the not only this year, but sort of the future of our negotiations going to happen? How you're going to show me now how you feel about me. And that's going to tell me a lot about how you're going to handle me in 3 or 4 years. He's still really young, so he doesn't really have to worry about, when he gets 30 or whatever. Like, that's still a
mhm,
little bit away for him. But I really think that that's what this is about, which is for the star player to be like, I need to set this precedence early, because by the way this TV money is going,
mhm.
I'm gonna be underpaid in 2 years, and I want that ability to then renegotiate and be paid the value that I really deserve.
And that's the tricky thing for both parties, because if I'm Nick's agent, I'm gonna put my CAA agent on hat on, and I'm gonna say, okay, check it. You guys, I understand 24 is gonna be, a crucible year for you guys and your cap. That's fine. We can negotiate. We can structure it in such a way to give you some relief there.
Yeah.
But why don't we do this? Why don't we make him the highest paid player? We may give him the highest bonus ever, and then let's just do a 3-year deal. And then at 28, I'm not saying I don't say that to them, but in my from my okay, then I'm at 28 and I get another bite at the apple, and we eliminate all of that you just said, that the market resets, and then I'm sitting here on a 5-year deal that is obsolete. If I'm the 49ers, I don't know that I want to play that game. I don't know that I want to be going with Nick Bosa 2 or 3 years at a time.
Mhm.
If I'm going to make him the highest paid player, I but I'm not I don't have I don't know um what Jed's pocketbooks are doing. I don't know if Jed can do like Jimmy Haslam did and just write a check to put Deshaun Watson's money in escrow, because Pilot J it pays a little different than whatever the hell little side businesses that Jed has. We've already mentioned that Jed is a billionaire, but his billionaire is different than like the Waltons billionaire
Yeah.
is, where their store receipts for this month could cover
Yeah.
Nick Bosa's could cover his contract. So they're not tripping on that. So I don't know how much of that is, you know, the 49ers hesitance or even outright inability to, maybe they just don't have the ready cash to be able to pay the kind of money that it's gonna, and I know that Parag is one of the best in the business that he does, and they can, people who are way smarter than me tell me that there are ways to break the bonus up into 2 or even 3 payments to make it, more team friendly. But he gets his money. But I would think that the 49ers, from the outside looking in, I would think they would be pushing for the longer deal as opposed to the shorter deal because defensive ends, unlike somebody like Debo, where at 28, it's neither here nor it's up in there. It's a coin flip as
I
to
mean,
what
which
his
was
value.
probably why they were comfortable going 3
Right.
years.
It's a corn flip that will Debo be the player he is now 3 years from now? No, I don't. Maybe not. But barring some catastrophic injury, I don't see, which I mean is that's you can't be not making deals with any player if the fear is a catastrophic injury. Because let's face the facts. I mean, it's more inside baseball than any fan really cares about. But that contract is insured, so if he is catastrophically injured, it'll mess up your salary cap, but you're not gonna go broke off of
Yeah,
that money.
and
You're gonna get
just remember, a lot of these contracts get so blown up. For the quarterbacks now, though, almost all of their money
is
can be
guaranteed.
guaranteed, but for these other positions, the only thing that really matters is the guarantee.
And to be fair to the 49ers, his guarantee is gonna be massive.
Yeah,
It's
it's gonna be
there's
big.
no two ways around that. It's gonna be the largest guarantee of any non-quarterback in NFL history. So it's not gonna be an insignificant amount of money no matter how you slice it. But I would think, you know, cap be damned. I would rather bite the bullet on that and try to finesse that rather than being in the business of going, every 2 or 3 years with
Yeah.
that. Because I guarantee you, the defensive end market, like the quarterback market, it ain't going backwards. And Nick
But it's
Bosa,
also for them, and it again, it is relationship because Nick and his agent may want to be like, "Hey, you know, this is a 5-year deal, but we want to be able to come back to the table and say, this is
mhm,
what it is, and this is where the money is. Now, we need to take care of this." But that's a lot of that is the relationship
right.
between the parties, and so that's what
Well,
I'm
yeah,
hoping is the piece that is actually getting taken care of right now. Is like, okay, how are we going to how are we going to work on this thing to make it so that Nick is going to be happy playing for the contract that he's going to
right.
sign, not only for this upcoming season, but in 3 years.
How does the how I would I'm not in those rooms, and I've never been in those rooms, but I've negotiated contracts before, and I know that probably where we're at is the team is trying to have some sort of cost certainty moving forward. The player wants as much flexibility moving forward as possible. So I want either a short contract or I want a longer contract with some opt outs. That I'm even willing, if I'm a player, I'm willing to even buy opt outs at year 3. If I give back X amount of money, I can then, you know, opt out. Because that is, flexibility is king because as you say, the salary cap is not doing going anything up but up. The defensive end market is not going to be doing going anywhere but up. So as a player, I want as much flexibility as possible, and the team wants as much cost certainty as possible. And so it's where as the old saw says, a great contract negotiation in a great contract negotiation, both parties leave feeling like they didn't get everything that they wanted, but they're, happy with what they got. And hopefully we're able to get there. The discourse in a lot of these a lot of these sites are like he doesn't have any leverage and he's just going to play this contract out. I mean, let me tell you, man, he can hold out up to week 6, come back week 6, and still be fully vested for this year. I just can't see how the 49ers how it benefits them going into next year, um, how you'd want to even, how you'd even want to consider playing the franchise tag game with Nick Bosa, the relationship, like you said, aside, if you're gonna be in any kind of cap situation, how in the hell can you have a defensive end cap number hitting the whole cap? I just I don't even see how that's even feasible. And to also field a competitive roster, it just that would be disastrous for them for his cap number next season to be the full franchise tag. I just don't think I don't see from there, so in my opinion, that is a part of, that's a leverage angle that he has as the player. It's okay, fine. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll play it out. But I just don't see how the team is able to do that. So we'll see.
Kyle,
I don't think he plays on that. And I think they find a way to get him extended. And I don't. But I and I also don't believe he's going to hold out for a whole long time either. So I think something gets done. He shows up prior to week 1. I don't know this. I'm guessing. I don't have any inside information. I don't know anybody down there in Santa Clara. But just
you know
it
who he
just
needs?
it just
He needs Hammer.
I'm, oh, I'm sure Crabtree could hook him up.
We need
Yeah.
the liaison. We need Hammer to be the
Mhm.
liaison between the 2 teams or the 2 parties. The other thing is that Kyle is a major, major decision maker when it comes to the personnel. So he's like, guys, he has influence there. So I would imagine that also is something that he's being really vocal about. He wants everyone to do their job, but he is a major decision maker when it comes to roster. So that
But
has
you
got
know
to
what? He
be
has said famously that he tries to stay out of that stuff, and only a few occasions where he has butted his head into that room. I know he
this
said
should be one of
George
them.
was one of those situations where he was like, "Look, guys, this dude is our best offensive player. We need to go ahead and get this done." And
Yeah,
like you
Jim,
say,
Jimmy doesn't want to throw to anybody else. We need
right.
George.
You know so then, like you say, and if there was ever a situation where he would stick his head in the room and say something to Parag, I would think this would be one of them. I mean,
Absolutely.
we've got to have this guy. He really is. Again, like I said earlier, he is one of those guys in this league who tilts the field. He is a difference maker.